Hello, good morning here in Chicago. Welcome to day 2 of Cut the Confusion course. So today we're going to dive into exercise fads. So all those hot new things that are really popular out there, and just breaking down what's really worth your time and what's not. And then also, of course, like just going through the science and stepping back and giving you tools to whether or not to figure out it's good for you or whether or not it's something to pass on. So I'm coming to you today from Facebook and Instagram. So please, as you're joining in, even if you're watching this later, put in the comments where you're watching in from, because you got people from all over the world, and it's always, I think, really fun to just know where other people are listening in from, watching in from. So today I'm a little bit under the weather, so sorry, my energy is a bit down. Got sick last night and have just been kind of, made it through all of our winter, most of it. We're at the very tail end here in Chicago, and unfortunately got snagged with the cold. And actually, I just came from the Hyde Park Neighborhood Club, where we're starting a brand new fitness class for families. So I'm going to be sharing too at the end here, just kind of like the way that I structure classes and what I would recommend for an ideal class structure or a workout that you could maybe do on your own. Exactly what we were going to do in the class today. So first of all, if you didn't get a chance, please be sure to check out the replay from day 1 yesterday. We went in depth on intermittent fasting, so that is available on the Body by Banner page as well as my YouTube channel. You can check that out. And I'm going to put the link here right now on Facebook, and if you're on Instagram, you can go to the link in my bio, and that is to add yourself to the email list for the Cut the Confusion course. And so you can put your name and email and join for free, and you'll get all the replays sent to your inbox, as well as bonus materials. And the biggest benefit of joining this email list, so even if you're on my Inner Circle newsletter, join the Cut the Confusion course if you want to have access to a $100 value nutrition and exercise audit. So I send you the exact tool that I share with my one-on-one coaching clients, and you have access to book a 15-minute strategy call with me. And so what we do is we can go through the form that you fill out beforehand, and I review your current diet and your current exercise routine, and we can just strategize ways that you can make 1 or 2 tweaks to really see a difference in results for you based on what your goals are. So if you want to take advantage of that $100 value audit, please make sure you add your name and email to the course, and I'll be sending a bonus workout just for those in the course today. So as soon as I finish up, I'm going to send an email with the replay and the information about how to access the nutrition and exercise audit, as well as an exclusive workout just for those on the course email. So I have a really sore throat and just congestion, so I'm sorry, I'm just like a sticky over here. But we're going to do this. We're going to get through it. Okay, so today though, we're going to talk about exercise. So first of all, if you're joining in, please put in the comments where you're listening, watching in from, and what your favorite type of exercise is. How do you love to move? So I'll give you guys a minute to do that. So please put in the comments where you're listening in from and what your favorite type of exercise is. And if you're watching this later on Instagram Live later, you can message me too. I want to hear, what is your favorite type of exercise? How do you love to move your body? So we're going to focus on today are what are some of the trends? What are some of the things you might be like hearing a lot about and seeing popping up? And the biggest things that have been popping up and I'm getting questions about are, number one, Orange Theory. So Orange Theory fitness classes, OTF. Barry's Boot Camp is kind of big here in Chicago. It's more, I think, an LA-based interval training, strength training class. It's an hour long. Bar classes, CrossFit, and the other ones I want to make sure to, Soul Cycle, right? That's huge. It has had such a huge growth. So Soul Cycle is a really huge one. And another company that's a little bit smaller, I think, but also getting more popular is Flywheel, similar to Soul Cycle. But maybe if you're really familiar, if you're a Soul Cycle addict, you're like, Flywheel's not the same. Or if you're a Flywheel addict, you're like, Soul Cycle's not the same. So, but they're similar in structure. So all of these have, most of them except for bar. I'm really not going to focus much on bar classes. I'm going to focus more on Orange Theory, Barry's Boot Camp, Flywheel, Soul Cycle, CrossFit too is kind of the original. And all of these are interval focused workouts. And they're also a new trend in boutique fitness. So higher cost, higher level. And I will talk more about that because I have a little bone to pick with it. And so, yeah, so boutique, where it's a little fancier, you go, it has a nice environment, but the emphasis in terms of the exercise is really on interval training. And so we're gonna focus on those types of exercise. Awesome, Danley, oh my gosh, you're already in Baton Rouge, you're not here in Chicago anymore? So we have a Baton Rouge lady, so put in, if you're just joining in, where you're listening in from and your favorite way to move. Orange Theory, okay, cool, we're gonna talk about Orange Theory. So, okay, so keep those coming, where you're from and what you love to do for movement and exercise. So the theory behind Orange Theory is that it's based on EPOC. So have you heard of this afterburn effect, where essentially what EPOC stands for and what they're looking to achieve, getting in that orange zone of your heart rate at a certain level, is this excess post-oxygen, excuse me, it's always a little tongue twister, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. So that's what EPOC stands for. Or just a simpler way of talking about it is that afterburn. So essentially what happens is that you are working so hard that your body cannot, you need oxygen afterwards to recover. And so basically it's measuring the amount of oxygen that you need after exercise to help your body return to homeostasis. So what does that mean? Homeostasis is basically like getting back in equilibrium, trying to get your core body temp back to normal, trying to repair your muscles with the help of protein, trying to get glycogen's stores back up, filled in your muscles. And the most important one, where oxygen is a big part of it, where it's playing into that amount of oxygen needed in the EPOC, is ATP production. And so ATP is what our muscles and bodies need to fuel activity, to fire off your muscles. And so essentially we use it during your exercise. And if you're doing really intense exercise, you really deplete it all. And so you actually go into anaerobic exercise, was when you just don't even have any more ATP available. Sorry, my husband's messaging me. He wanted to know how the class went today at the Hyde Park Neighborhood Club. So, which is great. So the amount of oxygen that you need to replace that ATP to help, so you can, in the next exercise that you do, the next movement that you have, that you are able to have ATP available for that movement, for firing your muscles. So that's where the repair, returning to homeostasis. So what happens is that with these classes, the goal is really to do intervals so that you're getting into that higher level of intensity. So if you think about, I think the best way to think about this, if you're not using a heart rate monitor, if you don't have access to that, is on a scale, right? A scale of 0 to 10. And that's your perceived rate of exertion if you don't have access to a heart rate monitor. Of course, you can check your heart rate just by using your little fingers and your pulse here. That's always available to us. But just, I always go with kind of measuring how you're feeling in terms of your response to exercise. And so a 0 would be lying in bed, just completely resting, not doing anything, or on the couch watching TV. And then 10 would be where you're about to die, where you're gonna throw up, or has anyone ever been there? Can you give me a thumbs up if you've ever been to that extreme of exercise where you're just all out sprint and you literally have nothing left? So that's a 10. Nobody's done that hard? Okay. There's definitely moments when I used to play college soccer in high school as well, when you're just like going after it and you all out sprint and you're giving it your all. That is a 10. Well, you just have nothing left after that. You have to recover. And then there's in between, right? So then we have kind of like 0 to 5 is starting to walk, maybe getting the heart rate going, getting a little warm, starting to move a bit more. And then you go from like 5 to 10, and that's when you're just like gradually cranking it up. And so what Orange Theory is trying to get you into that orange zone. So, right, you have like kind of black where you're in 0, not doing anything much at all. And then I think it's yellow, orange, and red, or there's green in there too. And so red is that 10 where you're just like, you can't sustain it. 9, I think 7 to 9 is where you're trying to get to that orange zone and you're really trying to work hard. And then, like the lower ones are just more steady state, sort of a jog or really kind of pacing on the elliptical, or really slow walk would be kind of the green. That really low level, more leisurely activities. And so I think the important thing to remember with some of this is just that exercise is a stress on the body, right? So what the body is doing with EPOC, or that afterburn, is recovery. It's trying to recover from the stress of that intense exercise, especially in a class like Orange Theory or Barry's Bootcamp, Flywheel, Soul Cycle, where you're really pushing those intervals. And for a long time, they're an hour-long class. And granted, you're not in the orange or red zones for most of that, but it's a pretty sustained amount of time. And what I do love about these classes, I'm going to kind of go through pros and cons in a second, but I want to kind of wrap up some of the science, is just to think about the fact that this is, like, I think a really important thing. It's just like exercise is a stress on the body. And when we have stress in our lives, and I think we're all kind of like, I think, becoming more and more aware of like stress and the negative effects, or how it can be a negative effect, and how we need to take care of ourselves, and self-care is a huge topic right now. So the same thing is true with exercise. Exercise is a stress on our body. So we need to account for it and incorporate adequate rest and recovery. If we don't, it will backfire. We can't just keep more is not always better. We have to be smarter about it, and be strategic with how much we use of exercise, and think of it like a medicine almost. Like you wouldn't, just because you need to take an antibiotic, if you take more of that antibiotic, it's not going to be better. It could actually be detrimental, or other types of medicines too. Whereas the same thing with exercise, more is not always better, just enough, right? Like just enough, the right dose is what's best. So trying to get smarter with it. And I'm going to talk, kind of at the end a bit more, and highlight the workout that will be going out to those on the list that are in the Cut the Confusion course email, that you're going to be getting my method, which is work hard, rest well. And so you are going to be strategically working, but just enough, and then also strategically resting, and really incorporating that need for recovery, both within a workout, because I think that's where it's really lacking in some of these classes that are interval-based. There's not enough recovery. There's not enough of that variation between 0 to 10. You're just hanging out between like 5 to 10 for an hour, and that's basically you're pacing or sprinting, and you're not having like yoga and stretching and chill out time. That's really going to lower your cortisol levels. If you're in a 5 to 10 for an hour, that's just getting your cortisol through the roof. And so it's just enough of that higher level intensity, and then really intentional rest afterwards to really bring the stress down after. Because if we are constantly stressing your bodies, you're going to get bloating, you're not going to see changes in your weight. You may be at first, but then if we keep pushing the gas pedal, it's not going to keep going. You're not going to keep getting a response. So it can actually cause some hormonal issues, especially for women, if we just keep pushing super hardcore. I'm going to talk a bit about like how much, if you are really loving that style of workout, those interval classes, how to incorporate them, because I think they can be really fun and really good. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing them at all. I want to give you a little bit of the science of like what's behind the theory of Orange Theory and those other classes is based on EPOC. But if you go to any of like the National and Exercise Association, NASM, ACE, Fitness, all of those, you're going to recommend that you have at least 48 hours of rest and recovery after a high intensity interval training session. And so that could be anywhere from a 15-minute hit up to an hour-long Orange Theory class or Barry's Bootcamp or something like that. You really need to incorporate at least a couple days afterwards to have that rest in order for the benefits of exercise to be effective and to prevent overuse and injury. Are you guys with me? Can I get a wave, a thumbs up? Any questions, please put them in the comments. I'm sick today, so I have to take lots of water breaks. Gives you time to write your questions in the comments. So what are your questions about exercise? Do you have any specific questions? Thank you. Any specific questions about these classes, about what's the best exercise? Awesome, you guys are amazing. Thanks for that. Put them in the comments. Even if I can't grab it right this second, I will come back to it. So that's the science. Now let's dive into, and I kind of highlighted, like what we need to do. So we need at least 2 days, 48 hours of recovery. So essentially what that works out to be is no more than about 2 to 3 days a week of these really high intensity interval training or training and resistance training classes such as Orange Theory. Recommend, really 3 days or less a week. And unfortunately, what sometimes happens in these gyms or these boutique fitness clubs is that you get incentives, right, to come more often, or it's cheaper to come more often. And so they're sometimes even encouraging clients to come for up to, I've seen on like in Facebook groups and others that are saying that they go up like 6 days a week and that they become kind of obsessed with it. And so that I think can get a little dangerous. And I've seen so many people posting about injuries that have happened because of that kind of excessive pushing of the gas of that high intensity too much, and then having a back injury or hurting their knees and having issues like that, or like having a muscle strain in their back. So that can, too much, more is not better. Smarter is better. So I would definitely encourage you guys to stick around to the end. So when I highlight the work hard, rest well method that I recommend, and the sorry, my brain's a little slow today, and the workout that I will be sharing with those on the list that'll be going out. Okay, so takeaway: exercise is a stress on the body. Totally fine. That's what we need. We do need some stress in order to see body change, to see new muscle. We have to have some damage in order, and then adequate repair to see muscle tone. But we got to just be smart, right? We got to account for it. We got to account for that stress, account for the damage to our muscles, and give it time to recover. Okay, so that's the science and a little background of what's kind of needed. And I want to go through some of the pros and cons. And again, I'm not just focusing on bar classes or Pilates, which are also really popular right now and can be really awesome. And I'm focusing right now on the interval trend, interval classes that are a really big trend right now. So Orange Theory, Barry's Bootcamp, Soul Cycle, Flywheel, which are spin-based classes. And there's some things I really love about these classes. And one of the main things that I really love is that you kind of become part of a community, CrossFit as well. And you get to really connect with people. So if that's your personality, where you really thrive with showing up when you know that people are kind of waiting for you, or where you know that you have money on the line and you're like, if I don't go, I'm wasting my money. That I think is a huge thing that is a benefit of these fitness boutique classes, is that there's that community, the accountability, and they're also, with the high-end boutique fitness, is that they're really nice. The staff are usually well-trained, they're usually really friendly, they're also really knowledgeable, they're always smiling, and they're really making sure that you feel like part of the group oftentimes, and they're fancy, they're clean, they're really nice. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, but you're paying for it. So that's kind of on the negative. I'm going to go through some of the positives, but that's the negative coming. So they also have a nice variety, right? Like usually the classes are never the same, or very rarely like you repeat things. So you have that variety. You don't have to be thinking about what to do for your training. You have it programmed for you. So that's awesome. I totally get it. As a trainer, I hate to even program my own stuff. So I will have somebody else program my workouts for me, and I'll pull that up and use that for myself. So I totally get that. One thing I do like about Orange Theory in particular, because you have the heart rate monitor and some other classes as well, like Flywheel, they'll have those where you are showing on the leaderboard kind of your performance. And so one of those things is that you get feedback on your heart rate. You start to kind of learn a little bit about what it feels like to be in that orange zone, or to be in the red zone, or to kind of know if you're really truly working hard. Because if you haven't been an athlete in particular, I think athletes kind of know that feeling of kind of like pushing your edge. It's just kind of part of if you grow up as a young kid, being an athlete, you kind of know that. You learn that in your body. And so if you maybe haven't had that experience as a kid, this is a really nice way to learn that biofeedback a bit by having the heart rate monitor on you. And also it can be individualized, right? If you have a high heart rate monitor, it's going to be monitoring your heart rate monitor and not the person next to you. So you are trying to get to your own orange zone, not the person next to you. So it can be more individualized to give you a really good workout. And it helps people, like I said, like who might not be familiar with, with getting to that edge as maybe an athlete. It's going to push them outside of their comfort zone. So that's why I do like about these group boutique fitness classes is that it helps you push you outside your comfort zone a bit so that you're challenging yourself beyond what you might do on your own. So those are some of the things that I really do love about it. Excuse me, water break. And some of the things that I am a little bit leery of and would just have like some caveats around, I'm going to go break those down now. Do you have any questions though as I'm going? Like, are there any, like, I would love to hear, Danley, what do you love about Orange Theory? I'm kind of putting you on the spot because you said that you're an Orange Theory fitness lover on here. But if you're still watching, I would love to hear what you love about it. Like, is it the community? Is it the variety? Is it that you know that you paid for the membership and you want to show up and make the most of it? Is that you've seen results? I'd love to hear what you've gotten out of it, because I think that it can be a really awesome tool, right? We have all these different tools in our toolbox for exercise and nutrition. Yesterday, we were talking about intermittent fasting as a tool. It's one of many, right? And I think that the same with exercise, we have lots of tools in our toolbox. And so it's good to know about all the different tools and then know that there's also different phases of our lives, unless we're cats, where there's going to be certain tools that are going to be better or more appropriate than others, or we're going to need to use more of one than the other. So that's just kind of my hope here, is by giving you a little bit of background on the science, which is the beginning about EPOC, and now kind of going through some of the pros and cons that as I see it, of, there's the siren, of this specific type of interval training classes that are really popular, so that you can know whether or not this tool is good for you right now or at different phases of your life. You guys are quiet today. Yesterday, people were commenting a lot. So I guess it's not as controversial as intermittent fasting. People just really have opinions about intermittent fasting. Okay, so some of the things that I have, like little caveats or things that I see as not red flags, but just things we need to be aware of with interval training classes like Orange Theory, is or just kind of hold people back, is that they're really long. They're too long, I think, for the type of exercise that they're doing. We don't need to be working out at the orange zone or the red zone for that long. And if we are, then again, right, we need to be smart about it and only do it maybe once, twice, at most 3 times a week. So I tend to think that they're a bit too long, that you can get more bang for your buck with doing about even a 15-minute to maximum 25-minute hit with weights, ideally, or Metcon, metabolic conditioning kind of circuit with heavy weights, and do that. And then incorporate your recovery, like a walk or yoga afterwards, and you can be on your way. You don't necessarily have to be doing, because what ends up happening, what I see as a downside with Orange Theory in particular, or other like Barry's Bootcamp classes that I've tried, Flywheel, is that it's a long, and you end up being exhausted oftentimes afterwards, and so your energy is not necessarily great. Sometimes you do, but most people feel more like exhausted and have more hunger and cravings afterwards. And so it's just too long in addition to like getting to that 12 to 20 minutes they recommend for the orange splats or the orange zone. You're also doing about 40 minutes of the kind of pacing, right? Where you're not quite getting to that high intensity. So it's not very economic in terms of the timing. And also I feel like because of the pacing amounts that's incorporated, where you're not at full speed and not also really recovering, that you're gonna kind of exhaust the body and cause more stress and need to recover even more. Sorry, just a second. Right, always a siren. It's the joys of being close to a fire station and 2 hospitals. So that's one of the biggest things for me, is it's too long. And another thing that I find is that because it is challenging, and that there's a sort of like group mentality of like, yes, we're going to work hard, we're going to like go to our maximum, is that it can be really intimidating and also not appropriate for beginners. And as a trainer who really wants fitness to be inclusive, I find that hard, because those are the people who need to exercise the most. They need to get in the door and get moving and do it safely. And I find that these classes are not really helpful for beginners. And so if you're just getting started, or if you're just getting back into fitness, you're more likely to get injured, because there's a group mentality of just like kind of like feeling like you have to keep up. There's like the element of competition with your name being up there and how hard you're working, and which can be really motivating for someone, especially more of that athletic mindset who just wants to compete with themselves and with others. But it can be detrimental for beginners of like shaming them as well as people who try and be competitive and push themselves beyond what they're really safely able to do. So that's a huge one for me, is I just don't think that it's necessarily safe. And this is the other thing, is that the cost is pretty high. It can be anywhere from 30 plus here in Chicago. Hopefully whoever needs help is getting the help that they need. So it's quite expensive per class. I mean, you can get monthly passes, but some of those are even up to almost $300 a month, which is pretty hefty price tag. And honestly, they have trainers, but they're, assisting a lot of people. Usually the classes are packed because they're popular, and they're trying, they're doing their best, I think, to really check form, make sure people are safe, educate them on how to use the equipment. But honestly, for that price, you can buddy up with like 2-3 other people and do a small group personal training class or sessions. Like, get a small group and hire a personal trainer to work with you, and you get that group accountability, and you're not going to pay really much more, and it's going to be much more personal and individualized. It's going to actually be set for you. It's so interesting. Oh my gosh, here are the comments. They weren't showing up, so sorry. You guys are answering. Oh no, Danley, you're saying your symptoms. Sorry, I'm just catching up now. Awesome. I love these comments. Thank you. Sorry, just catching up. Thank you for your patience. I'm tech adverse sometimes. So what you're loving was that you just have to show up and not think about the workout. Some things that people said about SoulCycle is that I was about to die. Oh my gosh, felt the same way. I thought I was going to throw up when I did the flywheel class. Seriously, thought I was going to vomit. Thankfully didn't. All I'd had, so I went with my friend in LA, Kristen, if you're watching, and it was really fun. She's a huge addict, but all we had from before that was a bulletproof coffee, and it was not good. Not the combo for me. Awesome. Thank you guys for posting. I'm sorry I wasn't seeing these. It wasn't showing up. Okay. Awesome. Do you suggest HIIT workouts every other day and off days in between, or steady state cardio? Okay, I will definitely get to that question, Danny. Thank you for putting that in. And anyone on Instagram, please put any questions you have in the comments. I will definitely get to that though. Thank you. And sorry I wasn't seeing your comments. I was like, I don't know. Today my brain is like not here. I'm super low energy from this cold. Okay, so we kind of went over some of the negatives or some caveats. Costs, right? And from that, this is not related to like fitness, necessarily exercise benefits of it, but for me as just a citizen, that bothers me. The marketing materials they have, it's very exclusive. It's very much for white, thin, already fit, wealthy young people. And so that is leaving out a huge portion of the population. And so I have a huge bone to pick with that, with most of the boutique fitness, with SoulCycle. I think SoulCycle is trying to make an effort of being more inclusive, but flywheel bar classes, oh my gosh, they're all thin white women, upper middle class. Just a huge bone I have. And that's just me. That's my personal thing. Barry's Bootcamp, Orange Theory, generally, if you go to those classes, they're, for the most part, thin white people who have middle to upper class incomes. So that I want people who we all need fitness. We all need to be moving our bodies and to stay healthy. So that's an issue I have. The fact that it can be too challenging, that can be good, right? People are really drawn to that. And if you already have a good level of fitness, I think you can do it really safely and have it be a part of your exercise plan and be safe with it and have some results from it. But if it's too challenging, it, again, leaves off those beginners who need exercise the most, or people who need to get back into exercise and haven't done it in so long. And it also can be unsafe because you get into that group mentality. There can be, for beginners too, that sense of shame that they're not performing at the level of the others. For me, I have issues with the lighting. I'm a highly sensitive person, so to be in like really bright orange or red lighting is just not, like Barry's is all red lighting. And flywheel, I know that it's actually not overstimulating because it's dark, but I hate the dark lighting. I'm just like, can we just like have windows and natural light? I don't know. So for me, it's like a huge turnoff. And then this is a big one, I think, in terms of what people are going to it for, and then what is the reality. So there's a huge emphasis on calories burned. And then also the fact of like afterburn, EPOC, right? Of that you're gonna have this big afterburn burning calories. You're gonna burn up to 1,000 calories, they say at Bird's Boot Camp. And yes, while you might also have, because it's that big stress on the body, your response to it might be that you are ravenous for not just that day, but the next day. And so you're eating well over an extra 1,000 calories. So then net, you're actually going to be having a net positive calorie intake rather than a net negative calorie intake, which is what people oftentimes are going to it for weight loss need. You need to have a caloric deficit to achieve weight loss. In addition to a caloric deficit, especially for women, you need to have your hormones happy. If they're not happy, then it's going to be really throwing off that whole metabolic thermostat, and it's going to be really hard for you to lose weight and sustain it. It's when bloating happens, it's when you get injuries, it's when you're feeling tired all the time, it's when you lose your period or have irregular periods. So this is the thing, right? I think they're too long for a lot of people, and it can just cause a little bit of a focus on burning the calories and getting into that mindset of like, okay, I burn these calories so that I earn this treat. Even if you're not thinking that overtly, I think there's this underlying subconscious like, oh, I earned it feeling. So it's like, oh, I did that killer workout, so I earned it. Can anyone relate to that? Like where you're like, this happened all the time. Like when I used to teach boot camp classes in Buenos Aires, like people would say like, I earned this brunch afterwards, or I earned to go out. So can anyone relate to that, of just the sense of earning your treats or earning a really rich, like fatty meal, like pizza or burgers after having a big workout? Or that you, on the flip side of it, that you need to work off the weekend calories. Has anyone had that happen to them where you're like, oh, I just totally indulged, like especially this weekend, this last week on the St. Patrick's Day. So here in Chicago especially, there was so much drinking, so much, like post drinking the next day, big brunches. Oh my gosh, we went out and we saw so many young post, like St. Patrick's Day revelers having like these crazy brunches and just being so hungover and just eating whatever. And so then, come Monday though, there's this, like I hear it all the time on social media, people posting or just talking about it. I hear stuff on the street, I listen, I try not to eavesdrop, but I do, about just like, oh my gosh, I totally overdid it this weekend, I really need to work this off. And so it just feeds into that mentality of not just enjoying our exercises, but then using it for like a punishment almost, right? Like, and in this equation that we're always balancing between counting our calories and burning them off and using the exercise to try and compensate somehow, instead of just loving the fact that we get to exercise and move our bodies and be fit and healthy. Oh my gosh, you guys, as I get older, it's like more and more, it's like exercise is about staying healthy and like feeling good as I age. It's just, I know that maybe younger people can't relate to that, and I probably did not myself at all. It was all about the like how my body looked. So I get it. So for a couple of reasons, here's where I have the caveats for these high intensity interval training classes like Barry's Boot Camp, Orange Theory, is that because of the fact, if your goal is physique change, yes, you might see it, but you have to be really smart about how you incorporate these classes into your overall workout regimen. And if your goal is like me, to have a healthy body that's able to continue to age well and to be comfortable as I age and be, just feel good in my body, then yeah, it could work. These classes might be okay for you, but you're more likely, if you're someone that's super competitive and you're competing against the other people in the classes with that leaderboard and they're showing you, how you're comparing to everyone else, you might be more likely to get injured. So it's just, is it worth it to you? Do you really want to do this? So I want to dive into now, I'm going to answer your question, Danley, but I want to dive into in a second, filter of you, like giving you this tool to know whether or not this kind of class is for you. And I've kind of maybe given you some clues already about what I think of it and some things to kind of look out for yourself, but then also just some specific questions that you can ask yourself to know whether or not it's the right fit for you, or whether you maybe can just leave that tool in the toolbox and come back to it later, or don't use it at all. Excuse me. Okay. So I'm going to answer Danley's question, and then if there's any other questions that you have on Instagram or Facebook, please put them in the comments. Sorry, Instagram, I'm not giving you as much of my eye contact today. But I appreciate you being there. Okay, so Danley's question was, do you suggest HIIT workouts every other day and off days in between, or steady state cardio? So great question. And hopefully I've kind of touched on a little bit of this while I've been sharing. And I would say with HIIT workouts, yes, at least a day in between. But again, looking at your week, thinking of ideally, right, like the recommendation is to have 48 hours of recovery time. And sometimes that won't always work out perfectly, right? Like you might do a HIIT and then you're like, you're going to be traveling, so you do 2 days later. Totally fine. You're going to have almost like 48 hours. That's fine. So I would say, like, if you, for example, in a week, if you do a HIIT on Monday, I would wait until like Wednesday or Thursday to do one. And then if you really wanted to do one again, maybe Sunday, like Saturday or Sunday, but then looking at the next week, I wouldn't do one on Monday. I would wait until like Tuesday or Wednesday. Does that make sense? So you have about 2 days in between. So looking at a week, or even over the space of 2 weeks, you would be doing no more than 3 a week, ideally about 2. And then on the other days, you could be doing more strength training. Get as much muscle on that body as you can. As it's so important, I think, especially for women, to do some strength training. So that's what I would recommend, honestly, is like at least 2 days of strength training per week to really challenge the muscles, getting progressive with the weight that you're lifting and using. Can I just get a little like comment or wave or like thumbs up? Who here lifts weights? Is anyone like a big, like either, not necessarily barbell, but that's awesome if you do, but weights, like just free weights, circuits, that kind of stuff? No one? And sometimes there's a delay. Okay, I know you ladies in the magic makers, you guys use weights too. With the workouts. There they come. There they Okay, so yes, I would say like try and use at least 2 days of the week, and that could be so if you did like a HIIT on Monday, and that's like either your Orange Theory class, Stanley, if you're still going to that, that could be your Monday, just as an example, your Monday. Or if you're doing one at home, you could do like a 20 up to 25 minute HIIT, either body weight or with weights. And then I would say like the next day would either be like a restorative yoga class, lots of walking. So here's the thing, exercise and movement in my book are different. So you can move as much as possible. That's the goal. Lots of walking, gentle, like slower bike riding, taking the stairs, playing with your kids, gardening, all that kind of jazz. More the better. So walk a ton. Do that every day as much as you can. So if you do a HIIT class on Monday, Tuesday would be more of an active rest day, so you're moving a lot but not challenging yourself so much. Wednesday could be either strength training or like a circuit. Either you're going to do your heavy lifts that day or more of like a circuit, metabolic conditioning circuit. And then Thursday, you can, if you really are wanting another HIIT, you could do that on Thursday, either at class or at home. And then, Friday could be another weight training day or a rest day. So ideally throughout the week, you want to have, I would say my recommendation would be about 2 HIITs a week and at least 2 days of strength training where you're really challenging the muscles with resistance and weight. Okay, there we go. The comments still are like, you have to like scroll down, they don't show up. And then as much walking as possible every day, all day, as many steps as you can get in, but leisurely, slow walking for the most part. And you asked about steady state cardio. I don't do much cardio. So you can do cardio if you want to. And that's what we're going to go into next. It's just kind of like figuring out for you what you want to do, what you love. But honestly, if you're walking a lot, and I recommend for the most part for stress reduction and lowering cortisol levels after the HIIT workouts in particular, to walk slowly. But if you're getting in some like more brisk walking or brisk bike riding or those kinds of activities, then you don't necessarily have to do steady state. If you're not able to get that much in because maybe you live in a suburb and you don't have access to just walking for your errands and things, then yeah, maybe doing some lower, like they call it low intensity, steady state lifts on an elliptical or bike, or what I'll do sometimes is I'll go to the gym and I'll catch up on my social media, stuff I need to do for work or emails, and just walk really slowly on a slight incline, or do the step mill really slowly, and do that for like half an hour a couple times a week. Yes, so those would be things. But again, I don't make it like jogging, kind of that 4 to 6 rate on the scale of 0 to 10. If you're going to be doing metabolic conditioning circuits, which is where you have heavier weights, like moderate to heavy weights, and you're moving pretty briskly with that, you're going to get a cardio effect. Trust me. That's the kind of workout I'm going to be sharing with all of you, just exclusive to the ones that are on the Cut the Confusion. I almost said commit to fit. Cut the Confusion email list. I will be sending you a workout that is designed to be more of a metabolic conditioning, where you're going to get a cardio effect from using weights and moving at a pretty good pace. Okay. All right. So how do you know if it's a good fit for you? Like I want to give you some tools to decipher. And the ways that work with me are going to laugh, because I always a coach basically just asks questions. We have we give you some structure. A good coach will give you some structure, but then they know the right questions to ask you. So these are going to be questions that you can ask yourself, pretending that I'm asking them for you in the moment. And is, again, similar to the intermittent fasting yesterday, you're going to get kind of used to this, is the filter of you, putting it through what I call the filter of you. Number one, do you even like it? Do you even like those classes? If so, okay, yes. It's like that chart, right? And it's like, if you like it, yes, then we have some other questions. If you don't, no, okay, then stop. You're not even gonna go there. But okay, so do you even like it? Because if you don't even like it, I would say it's not sustainable. So, right, there's this question of is this even sustainable? Do I even like it? That's number one. So if you don't like it, don't go to Orange Theory. Don't go to Barry's Bootcamp. Hopefully I've given you enough facts, like some science behind it, to know that, well, yes, it can be a good tool. It doesn't have to be my tool. So if you don't like it, fine. You have other tools. And I'll share a workout with you that you can try in the email. And then if you do like it and you want to incorporate it, then here's some other questions you can ask yourself. Do I have more or less energy when I do this class? And it could be either immediately following, although that's not always the best marker, because it can really just be like after a really hard soccer game or something like that, you're going to be pretty tired. And so that's kind of normal. After a really intense workout, you're going to be tired. So more of is my energy more or less over the next day, over the week? Just looking at the global picture of how are your energy levels? Another question is are you seeing changes? Right? If you're really going into it for either weight loss, body composition change, where you want more muscle tone, are you seeing those results? And again, like with intermittent fasting, I said, you don't want to give up on something too quickly. So maybe give it a month, but after a month, really assess with an objective eye, maybe do a before shot of yourself, in your bikini or bathing suit, whatever, or just shorts and a sports bra. That's a really good way to tell, because sometimes if you're seeing yourself in the mirror all the time, you can't really tell the changes because they're just so gradual. Or, looking at the scale, if that's a marker that you really want to look at. Or doing measurements with soft tape around your arms, around your waist, around your hips, and around your thighs, and checking, are you seeing the results that you're wanting? Another question, and this is, what was that? Oh, and this is more about what I shared with intermittent fasting. Same thing. How's your hunger levels? Are you really ravenously hungry to the point where you're eating more? If so, then maybe maybe it's causing some hormonal reaction in your body. That's biofeedback. That's a clue from your body that perhaps it's not the best fit, maybe not the best tool if you're can't control your hunger. And we already talked about energy. If your cravings, if you're starting to have super intense sugar cravings, or even for chips and things like that, carbs, if you just can't control your carb intake, I feel this is so common, women are I just can't diet and exercise at the same time, because when I exercise, I just want to eat everything. I just want to eat absolutely everything in the cupboard. Can anyone relate to that? Or does anyone have an example of just craving the carbs? Carbs especially seem to be, especially for women, the thing that we go to. So those are some questions to ask yourself. Do I have more or less energy Is my hunger just out of control? Like, am I so ravenously hungry that I'm overeating the calories that I expended? Are my cravings just so distracting? Because that's the thing, right? We're going to always have some cravings, I think. It's, I think, really very difficult to eliminate cravings completely because we're psychological, emotional beings that have a lot of things that we're exposed to a lot in our environment. But how are they, like, are they mentally draining you? And so if you are feeling mentally drained by the amount of cravings that you have, then that's another sign too that maybe this type of class is not the best fit for you, or the amount that you're doing, that maybe there needs to be some tweaking going on, right? We need to pivot, maybe cutting back on the amount just 2 times a week, or maybe we need to be more thoughtful about recovery afterwards and getting in those leisurely walks and some restorative yoga and better sleep. So those are some things. And the last thing too is that, and I think this is important for any kind of diet change too, but especially too with exercise. What's the psychological effect for you? Is it really motivating for you? Like, are you feeling good about the progress you're seeing? Are you feeling really good about how strong you're getting and the changes and like, oh yes, I can do this amount on my squats now, or I can run this fast or row this fast now. And if you're feeling really like psyched about that, that's a good sign. If you're feeling really like just low about how your performance is, or you're feeling that you're not doing good enough, I think that's an important thing, because I think people can come to this class and have a couple of different reactions to it. In a class like Orange Theory or Flywheel, where you have that information blasted up on the screen and you're supposed to get to a certain goal, or you're competing against the person next to you. And for some, that can be really healthy psychological motivation, and for others that can be really damaging. And so if that's feeling damaging to you, then you don't need to put up with that bullshit. So just, you know, stand up for yourself. You don't have to participate in those things if they don't feel good for you. And I think one thing that can be helpful is just to know your personality tendency. Like, are you someone that really thrives with accountability and a group workout format? Then maybe that's a good solution. It's going to help you stay consistent. But if you're someone that's more of a rebel, or that really craves more of an introvert, that really craves alone time, then trying to make yourself go to an Orange Theory class or a group fitness class is probably not the thing. That's me. I kind of avoid them, actually. I'm just like, I get like anxious beforehand. So, you know, like we're all on this like spectrums, right? Like, some people love them, some people hate it, and some people are kind of in between. So hopefully these tools help you filter through that and help you know whether or not this is a choice that's good for you based on both the science and just having those questions like, do I even like it? How is it affecting my hunger? How is it affecting my energy? How is it affecting my cravings? How is it affecting my psyche? Like, is it helping me feel more excited and motivated? Can you guys relate to that? Like, I feel like that's a little bit more of a woo-woo aspect to what I'm sharing, but I think it's an important one to take into consideration, where, you know, if you're feeling bad about yourself after participating in a class, whether it's yoga or Barry's boot camp or anything, then maybe that's not the best fit. And it could be not because of the people are bad or that the class is bad, but just, you know, it's just not the right fit for you. Okay. My sore throat held up with this cold I have, but we're gonna wrap up here. Any other questions though, even if you're watching on later the replay, please either email me, put a question in the comment. I would love to follow up with you. If you're on Instagram watching this later, message me. And I really do read and answer every single email, question, and comment, message, all that. I make sure to really respond to it, even though I was delinquent on the text stuff here and didn't see them during the live. I just want to make sure I covered everything because I have my notes here. I think I did. So yeah, if you didn't get a chance, check out the replay from the intermittent fasting that we did from day 1 yesterday. We got day 3 coming tomorrow. And I want to hear, what do you guys want to hear about for the last 3 days of this course? I have ideas. We've got what do we've got? Ketogenic diet has been a hot one. I think that might be tomorrow's topic for tomorrow's ketogenic diet. We've got collagen. People want to know about collagen and vegan diets. Ooh, this is a good one. Fernando just shared with me yesterday about this article that he found through he was always reading the newspapers in Argentina about this vegan girl who got outed for eating fish. And I just want to go over a vegan because I love to just talk about, whether it's a good fit for you or not. But I just thought this whole article was interesting because it just brought up veganism. So that's the topic too that I want to cover. So if you have anything that you're like, yes, I want to definitely hear about this, put it in the comments, please. And then if you haven't already added yourself to the Cut the Confusion course email list, please do so. If you're on Instagram, it's through the link in my bio. If you're on Facebook, it's in that first comment that I posted, the link for that sign up, completely free. And I'll send you all the replays plus reminders right before. So if you're like me and you forget, you'll get a little reminder, and then bonus material. So yesterday I shared with the list a $100 value nutrition exercise audit. So it's the exact same tool that I share with my one-on-one coaching clients, so that you have that chance to really fill out kind of what your current nutrition, like diet and exercise and movement patterns are. And then I'll send that to me and I will review it, and we will jump on a phone call to strategize together 1 or 2 action steps that you can do to help reach your goals that are unique for you. So totally individualized, very specialized coaching just for you on those that sign up. And today I will be sending out in a couple hours exclusive workout just for those on the Cut the Confusion course. So hope to see some new folks joining in, and please share this if you don't mind. Like, just showing up is huge. I really appreciate so much that you are spending this time with me. It's amazing, and participating and commenting, and that just is a huge thing. If you would feel so inclined to share this on your page or send the email to someone that you know would be maybe interested in this information and has questions about this kind of stuff, then please share it. It's so helpful for a little business like me to have that love with sharing. So thank you for those of you who do that. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow at 11 Central, 12 noon, back here. Instagram, Facebook. Bye.